door with your name, and something else returned in red. It said this one's empty, he wanted the world instead. Tears in heaven, I know Jesus will wipe them away. When I was crying, with his gentle voice I heard him say, there's a void in my heart I wish you could see. I wanted him right there with me, and now I know why there will be tears in heaven. There were many searching for family and friends up and down the streets of gold from end to end. Then I saw the books with your name and all of the secrets you hide. And the tears came again as I saw all the time Jesus tried. Tears in heaven, I know Jesus will wipe them away. When I was crying, with his gentle voice I heard him say, there's a void in my heart I wish you could see. I wanted him right here with me, and now I know why there will be tears in heaven. I'm so glad that it was only just a dream. It was only a dream. While there's still just a little bit more time, use it wisely. Don't hesitate to make up your mind. Very soon there'll be no more chances, and it will be time to destroy. And I want to be standing with you, crying tears of joy. Tears in heaven, I know Jesus will wipe them away. When I was crying, with his gentle voice we'll hear him say, I'm so glad that you're here together with me, living forever and free. Now I know why there will be. Now I know why there will be. Now I know why there will be tears in heaven. There'll be tears of sorrow and tears of joy in heaven. And, sorry, that's basically the introduction. Now, this bit is where it begins to get a bit interesting. At the age of 18 years old, I joined this club called Wushu Kwan, taught by the chap. It's all right. It's okay. Taught by the chap on the top. Him. His name is C.K. Chang, Chinese guy. This hall here is in Imperial College where we trained. This was part of our rudimentary normal exercises as a warm-up. So the front splits was a necessity. You had to be able to do this as part of the normal training regime. I did that from the age of 18 till I was 21. By that time, I was able to basically defeat all of these guys here. So, and this was the instructor, by the way. This lady is married to him. That's his wife. So by the time I realized I could defeat all of my classmates, I realized that I had to move on because they needed more to learn. I then bumped into this guy. There was a British Lager Association lodge, located in Acton in London. So I go back a bit. This was in Imperial College, but I also trained in Southall with this guy from 19... Actually, no, I just said it was 18. So, yes. Sorry? To do what, sorry? We will talk about that in a little bit. I actually met this guy by an accident. It was through one of my many escapades when I was younger. What I used to do, I believed that martial arts wasn't something you just did in a room. You had to know how to use it. So what I used to do, to check out how really bad or good I was, I would learn a technique for about 6 months or so, and then I would go out and test it out on the streets. It didn't necessarily mean that I would go and pick a fight. It means that I never backed down from one. And in the area of West London where we lived, fights were very common. It would start by you walking along the street. Someone's walking, they're staring at you. Who are you looking at? Who are you looking at? Your mum. That was it. So fight start, right? So you didn't have to go very far to test out your martial arts skills. By the time I come to meet with him, I was still doing this when I met one of his students. And I was in Acton High Street, I can remember clearly, and I met this very big, tall black guy, and he was basically giving it a lot of jip about how good he was at martial arts. Now, one of the things I hated as a budding martial artist, and it's really bad, this is telling you how egotistical it is. If I heard someone bragging about how good they were at martial arts, I would say, show me. Show me. If you say you're that good, then you have got to be able to defeat me for me to respect you. So I met one of his students, and needless to say, his student lost. So I wanted to meet his teacher, because as far as I'm concerned, a lousy student has a lousy teacher. So I didn't do it the conventional way. You know the old martial art films, you go and you go, I challenge you to a fight. Yeah? No, it wasn't none of that. I decided to join the class and to see how the class was run. And after a few sessions, they always have martial arts sparring sessions. So when you get to the sparring sessions, you throw a few techniques here and there, see how they were. So eventually, they thought I was too good for all the other guys, so he came out. And you can see he's holding a cup, so it tells you that he's somebody really important. He was meant to be world champion something or the other. But needless to say, when I went to his class, we didn't get on very well because he realized I was there to test his skills. And so after 6 months of, how can I put it, experimenting with all of his students, I had to move on because I couldn't learn anything else here. And I went to these guys because obviously you can't stay with these guys because the other guys didn't know anything. So why not go to those who learn Shaolin? I didn't learn that all this stuff was just... That's right. No. Different styles.
So how are you able to say that that one's better than that one?
That's the reason why I would say, beat me. If you can beat me, then you're better than me. It was...
So you have to constantly keep challenging?
Yes, and then you would have open competitions as well. So my first competition was actually at this club, where I got to the semi-finals, and a very strange ruling happened. I got to semi-finals, and they reckoned it was a draw. You always kept reckoning it was a draw, even if you knocked the guy down about 6 times. Then I realized that the guys who were judging the fight were actually all from the same club. So therefore, needless to say, I lost that one because obviously it was a slight bias. So they're all friends, you got it. So I went to this club then, and I started learning from guys that looked like this, you know. And needless to say, I found out something when I was training with these guys. They look like real Shaolin monks, don't they? They're not. Most of the guys who dress as Shaolin monks are not Shaolin monks. They learn a bit of acrobatics, They learn something called contemporary wushu, which is, the fancy stuff. They jump in the air and it looks really good. But you asked them to defend themselves and they couldn't. So after spending 6 months here, well, it's about money. Nowadays, it's about money, honestly. If I was to open a martial arts class and dress like that, I could earn anything between 60 to 100,000 pounds a year. My wife can tell you, I was offered 2 years ago to teach weekend classes only on the Sundays. I would have about 100 to 200 students. I will charge them 150 pounds for the seminar. So if you do your sums, between 100 and 150 pounds a seminar for 100 to 200 people, that's 20,000 pounds for a weekend. I can pocket that. I do it once a month. It's tax-free. Now, after training with these guys for a while, I came across this style. Now you see this. Now you've gone, oh, I recognize that. Who recognizes this? What's this? What does it actually mean? It's a balance between light and darkness, good and bad. This circle tells you, and what they're saying is that good cannot exist without evil, and evil cannot exist without good. So they're interdependent one to another. This is where the devil is very crafty in what he tells you in these other religions, because it's actually a religion. It's called Pakwa Chang, or change, and it's called walking the circle. Now, I used to go here to train quite often. This is, you never believe what this is. This is called a pagoda. This country. Where do you think it is? No. It's in London, in Battersea Park. This was established as a pagoda with the 3 levels, depicting heaven, earth, and the underworld. Yeah? Inside there's a golden Buddha with lots of different attributes to him. And I got involved in Buddhism through the martial arts. Because after you started going to a higher level within Kung Fu, it was automatic that you would ingratiate yourself to learn the philosophies of the Kung Fu itself. Not long after that, I left that club, this one here, because this guy was a bit of hard work. He believed in doing it the traditional way, so demonstrate. Half an hour. Yeah. Yes. And I said, you know what? I'm wasting my money. £10 a session. £10 a session. And I'm talking about 25 years ago. But I used to train here because I thought that when I was training here, I got a lot of spiritual energies from the trees and from the things around me. What nonsense. Not realizing that the spiritual energies that they were saying I was getting was actually a demonic spirit. Oh, sorry. This is a chap who has a shop in Chinatown. It used to be called the Shaolin Way. This is how old he is now. His name is Yap Leon. Now, I decided I wanted to learn pure Chinese martial arts because I started learning Buddhism. And I wanted to know what I needed to do to get myself into a better state of understanding of Buddhism. Because they say the better you are at learning your philosophies of Buddhism, the better martial artist you actually became. So this is the guy who I went to learn from, and they said he was one of the best in Chinatown. Well, after about 5 lessons, I realized he wasn't, because I did my normal thing. I would always go to the club to learn, but when I got to the club, I would observe the teachers and the sort of the high-level students. And if the high-level students were of a poor level in their stances, in the way they would pose, in the way they would move their feet, then I knew that they weren't very good. So one day, he wanted to do someone to do a demonstration for him, and this is how I got myself into deep trouble. He said, well, come and hit me. I will block and defend. And I said, no, it's okay. So needless to say, I actually whacked him one, And it didn't turn out very well because from that moment on, before I left this class, I had about 5 guys at the door, like over there, telling me, you're not leaving until you fight all of us. But needless to say, I'm still here, so you might have guessed what happened. So I left this club and went to join this guy. Now, the actual this is actually the title of the actual Temple Forest Bamboo Praying Mantis and Chen Tai Chi Chun is the whole title of the style that I was learning. Now, what got me about this guy, he is about 5'2", right? 5'2", he's not built big, but I went to his class in Chinatown, and he said, he put his hand out, you come to press up my arm. So I said, what do you mean? Dips. So he put his arm out, and I literally did dips on this guy's arm, one arm, not two, one arm. Can you imagine that? A man can hold his arm out like this, and you can come and do dips on his arms, and he will not move his arm. So what did I do? I said, I want some of that, yeah? So I decided to join his class, and after a while, I realized he was a bit of a dark horse, because behind him was this guy. Oh, yes. This old man is what got me to understand what the esoteric religions is really about. I couldn't find the pictures, so obviously I couldn't bring them. But in some of the pictures where he was taken in the pictures, you would see a flaming creature right here next to him in all of his pictures. It turned out that this was, he called it his dragon spirit or his familiar. So he had something that would follow him around and instruct him and teach him the secrets of the other world. He was learning from him. But at the same time he was learning from him, he is a triad. And without realizing it, when I joined his club, I had joined a triad organization. What actually happened to make me realize that was that after the classes, they used to give me little red packages with money in it. £20, £30, £50, never less than £20 in every session. And if I wanted to have a meal, I could go into any of the Chinese restaurants in Chinatown and not pay for any meal. I didn't think anything of it, really. I thought it's all Chinese being friends. Now, if you see he's got a fist in a very strange way, that's known as the praying mantis hand fist. They did a drill where the fingers would be clenched in a certain way, but it's very, very powerful, and it looks deceptive. You could hit with the point of the finger, or if any of those fingers, or this part here, it's known as a hammer fist. But the thing about him that got me was, I'm not sure if I told the story before, but I'll repeat it anyway for those who weren't here. I went to he got me involved in Buddhism at his house. So he not only became my teacher, he became my friend. So I'd go to his house in East London, and he had quite a big front room. And in the front room along here, he had like a big, massive, what would you call them? No, I can't remember what they call them. It was an altar, yes. It was an altar with many different deities on them. And they had different candles you'd have to put in front of each deity, and you'd have to sit down in a certain way. I'm not going to show you and you'd have to repeat a mantra with your eyes closed in what's known as the your hands were always known in the lotus position. I'll show you that later on. Now that is actually a sign of a black magic, but it's also channeling the way you did it, because you would pressure into different pressure points in your body. The reason I'm giving you all this history is because I'm trying to get you to not let your kids do martial arts, by the way. And the whole idea behind it is that then he was then our Sifu, and he was his grandmaster. So in China, or in Chinese martial arts, the Sifu was known as your teacher, yeah? Your grandmaster would be the main guy who would be looking at, and then he would have something known as a Si Hing. So I would be brought to the older guys, the guys who were in the class before me, they were known as Si Ying, big brother. And I would be just known as, well, nothing really, because I just started. But what happened with him was what made me came up with the martial arts from being taught. Because I went to his temple one day, and a voice told me not to go in as I was about to knock on the door. It's the first time I thought I heard the Holy Spirit very clearly speaking to me. And sorry? What's that? No, well, it was the Holy Spirit. But what happened is that as I was about to knock on the door, I was told in no uncertain terms 3 times not to go in. So I turned back. The story that I will recount to you now is something that I was told by one of my colleagues in the martial arts class. They said, that same day, it's not far from here actually, to be honest, I was about to go in. There was a battle in the upper room, strange enough. And in that upper room, there were demons trying to fight other demons, because he had demons on his side. They didn't call them that, though. They called them spirit guides. You've heard of that, haven't you? Spirit guides that were trying to protect him because he was trying to send some spirits to his house to protect his family from the Triad gang that had sent other spirits to kill his family. Now, anyone hear about Buddhism being violent? No. Getting involved in anything like demons? No. Yes. But you know, Satan is very clever. He has you thinking that you can get power. And be honest with you, you do get a semblance of power. We'll talk about that a bit later on. Now, after leaving that class, I came into this place learning contemporary wushu. And this guy was one of my best friends. Now, I've given it away there. I should have not given it away. I trained with him. His name is Raymond Park. He was born in Scotland. He's better known for his role as Darth Maul in Star Wars Phantom Menace. We actually trained together, yeah? Yes. We met first when I was doing this style. I met him here. And we weren't contemporaries at the time. We didn't get on, in other words, because I used to, how shall we say, I used to instruct him in the way of fighting. But we met again a bit later on here, and we became good friends. But I'll show you how the Lord took me out of this, because remember when I told you about this here with the demons, then I started getting second thoughts about the martial arts. But I was still hooked. But I met him, and we trained together for about 5 years. When I was studying in university, an opportunity came for me, him, and my brother Sean to do stunt part works on this film. Anyone know about Mortal Kombat? Well, I wouldn't expect anyone to have watched it. But we were asked to be selected as a stunt double crew on this film set for 3 months. They were going to pay me £800 a month to be a stunt double. That's it. Sit around all day, and they'll say, right, you're on. The movie star does this bit. Then they'll put you in his clothes, and you run around for a bit, do the jumping around and the flips. Then they put you out the scene, and then put him back in again, yeah? And then on some of the where the faces came, they'd superimpose his faces on you. Now, at this stage, Sean, my brother, and this guy, Ray Parks, were saying, come on, Don, it's easy money, £800 a week. Come on, Don. But I was in university doing a degree. And in my mind, it was only 3 months' work, so why give up my degree? So I didn't do it. But what happened is that this film came up afterwards. The Star Wars Episode 1 Darth Maul, yeah? Now, my brother, in his rashness, he wasn't a Christian, didn't like the stars on this movie, so he said, you know what? I'm not doing it anymore. So he stormed off in a huff. The following day, George Lucas and his boys turned up and took the guys who were on this movie set to be on this one. And so, Ray Park stars of Darth Maul, you know about that. Then he stars in this film. Then he stars in these films. And then he starred in that. Oh, I saw some recognition in people's face. Heroes. I thought I'd leave it without a title to get the reaction of faces. I'm a bit naughty like that. So, imagine if back here I had taken the plunge to go and just do that. I'm not sure if I'd be standing here talking to you because of what happened with him. This guy is now a multimillionaire in Hollywood, living the life that most people in the martial arts world wanted to live. They've trained all of their lives to get to a place to be recognized and to be worshipped by the people. And this man, who's this man, Micah? I've taken Micah to see Mr. Han because Mr. Han and I have a very interesting father and son relationship. He is the one person that I respect as a non-Christian Buddhist. Strange enough, his brother is a Seventh-day Adventist. But he hates Seventh-day Adventists. Hates them with a passion. Because he believes Seventh-day Adventists takes his best students. Now, the thing about him is that he believes that he needs to carry around a lucky charm to protect him from evil spirits, because they know about evil spirits. But what he was trying to do with me, he wanted me to be lined up to be the next in line to take over this bit. The International Wushu Association to be the master of Europe. What that actually means is that for all the European countries that has the 5 Ancestors Fish Martial Arts School, I will get a cut from all the payments that they get. Which means, wifey, if I was to actually consider it and go back into it, I don't have to work. But anyway, on a more serious note, he introduced me to something known as a Qigong. And you heard of Qigong? Qigong is what's known as a deeper level of meditation. They do this when they're trying to get you to become, they say, infused with power. What it actually is, they're channeling a demon into you, right? So that you can be able to do special things like see in the night without, not like here, but if you go in the woods, it's completely dark. You'll see it like it's early morning. You'll be able to channel energies into objects. You'll be able to do other things. My wife is looking at me because she's saying, Don, you've done that, haven't you, Don? And she is right. He taught me also about the 12 steps to get into a level of martial arts where no one I could come in this room back in the day and all of you could attack me, but none of you would actually hit me. And the thing about that is you learn how to slow down or speed up yourself. You've heard of the film called The Matrix? Those guys actually went to high-level martial artists to learn how to put the film together. Because when you're a high-level martial artist, whenever you got into a fight, the people you were fighting against were moving in slow motion. So you could hit someone 20 times before they could even move towards you 1 millimeter. Yes? It's in the philosophy is the basis of all martial arts. So that's why I'm using the broad term. There are different types. You've got Goju-Ryu karate, for instance, which is very similar to this. You've got Koshinkai karate, which is very similar. You've got Shotokan. Shotokan isn't really a martial arts. It was only invented in about 1920s. I don't call it a martial arts because it was never used for war. But when I say martial arts in general, it's a type of technique that was used on the battlefield to kill someone. Yeah, so when I say martial arts, that's what I'm meaning. Kickboxing is not a martial arts. Muay Thai is a martial arts because it was used in Thailand about 300 to 400 years ago as a killing implement. You know those bamboo sticks that they use called kali? Those were actually meant to be swords, not sticks. So just to go a little bit deeper for yourselves. Now, his teacher was this guy who I met. Now, if there's ever a person who I know was fully demonically possessed, it's this man. He lived till he was 82 years old. But one of the things that he did that was astounding to me was that, this is no word of a lie, this man was able to jump and run around this room, parallel like this, stop here and levitate and float above the floor right here. This man was able to do that. But I believe he was able to do it because he was demonically possessed, not because he had any power within himself. Yes, sis? What they will say to you is, the power is within you. All you've got to do is learn how to tap into this power or this energy. And they will say to you, but you can enhance it by drawing energy from the air, from the ground, from the trees. That's why you have earth, wind, fire, water, and wood. The 5 elements. That's another area altogether. But they will tell you that. Now, I actually trained with him when he first came from China. He couldn't speak English, but he never actually would get up and talk to anyone. But the reason why I was privileged is because when he came to where I was training and he started to instruct me personally. And Mr. Han said that was a sign that I was going to be the next successor. This is my membership card, just in case you're wondering if I was really there. Yeah? Don Ward, I'm student number 31. Yeah? Okay. But if you notice this, the concentric circles, this is about the mind power. It's called Yi Gung. Please forgive me, I'm probably bombarding you with strange Chinese words. And in Yi Gung, you learn the power of the mind. They teach you that if you learn certain movements and certain phrases, and you learn how to put them together, you could accomplish almost anything with it. Was it you? Oh, and here's one of the areas of this Buddhist warrior, the temple. Now, you realize something about Buddhism. The temples were always either in a grove or on a high mountain. Here's what I told you about earlier, that Buddhist finger or lotus palm, where they would always hold a fist together. Now, that's a very similar sign. Now, I'm sure you've seen it before. Yes. But when you see it here, you don't really see it, do you? Don't see it, do you? You don't see it. But now, you do see it if you keep doing it like that. You do see it, don't you? Right? These are some of the guys I just thought I'd throw in there in the modern martial art world. These are the so-called MMA and UFC fighters. But they're all doing it, you see. They're all doing the horns and they're doing the, yeah? These guys in this, no. To be honest, these MMA fighters, most of them don't understand what martial arts is. It's about a money-making machine. Because, shall I tell you what I did the other day? Mum knows this one, and I did it as a test. I wanted to see if MMA and UFC was for real. I'm sure some of you young ones have heard about MMA and UFC, isn't it? No. The younger ones know what I'm talking about, the younger ones. I'm not saying that you're not young, sis. The younger. I'm talking about sort of 25 and under. Not us older, younger folk. So the younger ones from 25 and under will know UFC and MMA. You might have seen some of these guys, but let me tell you something. It's all about a money-making ploy, yeah? because I actually phoned into the UFC organization and MMA in UK about 4 years ago, was it, wifey? Because I wanted to see if they would take me as a challenger to one of these guys. I phoned in, emailed, and said, I would like to fight him and him because they're meant to be the two baddest guys in the world. Can I fight them? And they say, who are you? And I says, I am. And I told them, the moment I said, I am his student, they say, no, we can't allow you to fight. No, they said, no, you can't allow you to fight, because I said, why? Because I'm a student, because we don't know who you are, and we've heard of him, and we've heard of him. And we know that these guys, the students, don't normally lose. So if I was to go in and fight these guys and take the crown, all these guys will lose their money. But the one thing I want to let you know as well is that around this time, there's a turning point. I was about to go to, I was invited to Hollywood via Mr. Han. Mr. Han. A guy came from Hollywood, and he wanted someone who was really high up in Shaolin martial arts to go to Hollywood to teach the stars in Hollywood. And that was about 1985, the same year I got baptized, strange enough. Sorry, 1995. I was offered £60,000 a year, plus a rent-free apartment with swimming pools and free access to all the gyms. And the bits as well. For just 3 classes per day, 6 days a week. At the time, Jermaine, the boy you see in the first picture, he was only very young. At least I put it that way. And so his mom had left, and I wanted to be there as a father. And I decided not to take up this offer. And I was told I was stupid, because if I'd taken it up, and I'm talking about, I've been a Seventh-day Adventist 20 years now, so 20 years ago, I was offered that as a wage. And the other things. Now, the reason I'm giving you this history is to let you understand what is involved when you are in the world doing this stuff. Now, my journey, I thought I'd start from here and then work backwards. I want you to understand about martial arts. First of all, I know the intriguingness and the fascination of martial arts. I know, because I've got a son right over there. And he's heard lots of stories from your uncles, isn't it? Uncle Paul in particular, isn't it? And they tell them stories, and I say, don't tell the boy stories, because all what's going to happen is that he's going to want to emulate what Daddy did. So he was dying to see Daddy put up some little video clips of Daddy doing stuff. I wasn't going to do it. I didn't want to encourage him. Now, this is a very interesting place. Do you know where this is? Where is this? It's Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes, Villain Lake. This is the pagoda in Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes, as I said before when I was here, is one of the centers of the esoteric religions. But the reason why I've put this up, because it's in connection to what I was doing. Last but not least, on this area, I want to highlight, this animal lives there. Now, I had a problem with doing the old martial arts that I used to do. So about how many years ago? 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I decided to develop my own fighting system based on the movements of this animal. And I said to myself, there's not a problem with it. All I'm going to do is use it for exercise purposes. Very good exercises, but you know what happens? The temptation for using it as a martial art is very, very great. So I have decided, I don't know, how many years ago was it? I don't know. For you years ago, that I wasn't going to go back in that direction, because I know that there's a lot involved in the martial art world. But before I got to here and the martial arts, I'll tell you why I got to here in the martial art world. When I was young, about the age of 8, I saw my very first demon. My very first demon. But the problem I had is that I was so terrified that I didn't know what to do. I told my auntie about it. I'm not going to go through the details of the story because they're younger ears here. But the one thing I can say is that from that moment, I went out of my way to try and learn a way to combat that demon. Because it told me that it was going to come back for me when I was older. When I reached the age of 18, I realized that time was nearly up. So I needed to go and find a way to fight this demon that was torturing me when I was a child. Well, what I didn't realize is that by moving into this field, I had been captured by the same demon I was trying to avoid. At the age of 31, I became fully demonic possessed, where through a spiritual exercises, I felt tingles in my feet, all the way up to my arms and to the top of my head. My eyes turned red. I was not able to control my body. It was like me looking out of the window of this building and my body moving around, but me not controlling it. At that stage, when the Bible talks about the demoniac and Jesus Christ walking towards the demoniac and the demoniac falling before him and speaking, but not the person's voice speaking, but the legion speaking instead, I understood that because that's where I was. But the miraculous thing is that very same night, I knew that God touched my heart and took control of me and exorcised those demons. My son, on the other hand, is on the very same path that I am on. But he's 20-something years behind me. But he's following in exactly the same footsteps. Because he has done something, well, this is a beautiful child, don't get me wrong, but his ideologies are the same. Isn't that right, wifey? So much so that he believes that there's more than one path to heaven. Many people in the world believe that. And so what they do, and unfortunately some of our leaders are doing that, they're trying to bring the religions together and blend them to have a nice, how can I put it, potluck religion. So you pick the ones you like, the bits of different ones you like, and you leave the ones you don't like. Well, let me get back to where I was going. By the time I was 14, I had seen so many different spiritual apparitions that I did not know what to do. So I decided that I wanted to learn something or gain power from something so I can defend myself. So I went to an old library near where I lived in Ealing. They had an old library, and downstairs they had some reference books. And strange enough, I had a small voice that told me, go into the basement. You'll find what you need down there. So I went to the basement, found some very old books, and started learning witchcraft spells at the age of 14. By the time I was 16, I knew how to cast spells, but knew that casting spells were dangerous. But by the time I'm 16, I am doing stuff that I shouldn't be doing, not capable of me physically doing it. I didn't know at the time that I was being directed by demons. One of the things that I'm not too sure if I should say it here, but one of the things that used to happen to me is that, no, keep forgetting, children. Anyway, by the time I'm 18, I'm beginning to see things that other people can't see. And I'm in, I'm in a very hard place when it comes to trying to find who God is, because I'm trying to find God, but each time I go to a Christian and ask for help, they can't help me. They don't know. I'll pray for you. I'm praying for you. Jesus is love. That's all I kept getting, but I needed more than that. Now, don't get me wrong. That is okay to say, but we as people of God, we need to have more in the way of ammunition to give people out there, because we need to be equipped. Because what does it say in Ephesians 6? Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Now, one of the other things that kept me back from Christianity all those years ago was that I would see Christians doing exactly the same thing I was doing. And I'm saying to myself, well, hang on a minute. I know I shouldn't be in the nightclubs and the parties and the stuff like that, so why are the Christians here? If these are the guys who are going to lead me from the darkness, why are they in the darkness? So why should I go to their church? Why are they dressing like I'm dressing? Why are they trying to slang and talk like me? Because I know I'm doing it because I'm trying to put on a hard man act, yeah, on the street. But the Christian kids, why? Why are you doing it? You're meant to be a peculiar people. And so when the people are looking at you, they're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. And a sidetrack here quickly. Young lady, daughter, young man. One of the things that we did, and I'm sure I said this before, when we were out in the world looking for easy prey, and I'm telling you now, when you got young daughters, they are easy prey to the guys outside if you don't educate them properly. Because we said, we are going to church to get the easy girls. We went to church to get the easy girls. Yeah? And I had a friend called Big Eye John, who, there's a reason why we call him Big Eye John. His eyes was big. And Big Eye John would, how can I put it? He was like a monk of how to lead women astray. And he would have them in droves, seriously. And there was nothing spectacular about him, but he was a gift of the gab. Oh, this guy can talk. He could sell ice cubes to the Eskimos. No word of a lie. So he'd come to my house and he'd say, Donna, I've got your girl. I'm like, are you kidding? He goes, yeah. No, I got her from so-and-so church. I'm not saying what church. Yeah. I didn't know what I was saying which church. But he had 5 churches that he could go to, and he's telling me, he's guaranteed that he can take one of them girls home tonight. That's what he told me. And the reason why I'm saying this is that while we have the messages here, and we talk and we educate our children, the one thing we've got to try and insulate them against is how to stand against the wiles of the devil. Because these guys, when they come, sometimes they're not even guys from outside the church doing it. Sometimes they're the kids in the church doing it as well. Be very careful. Anyway, what I found we were doing when by the time I was 18, I then decided to go into the martial arts to learn how to defend myself against this coming demonic entity. And so I got into doing black magic, witchcraft. I was doing Chinese astrology, and I was also doing Western astrology as well. But one of the things that I learned that was very, very interesting is that after I learned to do the mantras and sutras, things used to actually happen. Am I making sense? You know, like we'll say a prayer and we say, in the name of Jesus Christ, may your will be done, amen, and we leave it, and we wait for an answer. And we wait, and we wait. When I actually did that with the Buddhist and the Hindu mantras, something would actually happen, as in within 24 hours. So when we say to the people, oh, you're following a false religion, don't get me wrong, I know it's a false religion, but some of us have the idea to say to the people outside, what you're saying isn't true, it doesn't happen. It actually does, but we've got to educate them that it isn't the true power of God that's doing it. Therefore, we must walk with the Lord in such a way that we've got a connection that the power of God with us is stronger than the power of the enemy in them. Does that make sense? Because we can't go fighting, and the reason why I give you the analogies of the martial arts classes and going to the different classes and fighting the other classes is that when I found out I was getting stronger than the others, what would I do? I'd leave that class and seek someone who could teach me more. So if I'm having this conversation with a guy and he's a Buddhist and a Hindu and he's doing all this stuff and I'm a Christian, but I'm a Christian that nothing's happening and I'm kind of cowardly about what I'm doing, and we're not a good witness. We're not a good witness. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, and I have to leave a lot of stuff out. I'll keep forgetting about the time as well. When we are coming to the Lord, how do we come to the Lord? Let's say Take the last week. Sunday. What was the first thing we do when we got up? Very first thing. Worship. Eat breakfast. By Sunday at night, worship in the night time. Family worship. Do you have family worship? Do you have quiet time during the day with God? Bible out? Do we have it as a regular thing, or do we do it when we feel like it, or when we find the time for it? Because the reason I'm telling you this is because when I was a martial artist, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. 2 hours training. Sorry. To 7. Then I get up, go to work. Finish work, I'll train from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So I'm spending 5 hours a day in my martial arts, right? So I'm a Christian now. So I'll get up in the morning and I'll spend 2 minutes with God. I will go to work, come back home, I might say a quick prayer as I'm having my dinner, and I might have a little 5-minute prayer before I go to bed. How am I going to grow as a Christian if that is how my day goes? How are we as a church going to grow if we only give God 15, 20, half an hour, 1 hour a day? Do we give him a day? Do we give him an hour a day? No, actually, we meant to give him 24 hours. Why am I saying that? I go back to my martial art days. When I was walking the street, I'd be thinking about martial art techniques. I'd be thinking about the exercises my teacher was teaching me. I'd be walking around, so much so, I'd be doing it self-consciously. So when I slept, that's what I dreamt about. So when I woke up, that's what I did. So I'm a Christian now, and I'm following the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Aren't I meant to give him more of my time now than I gave the devil when he's in the world? Do you understand where I'm coming from? So now, and my wife knows it, people say, Don, you are just freaky. You're too religious. And I say, what do you mean by that? I says, I spent 20 years doing this funny business. I'm just about equaling out the time now. We're just about to become 20 years a Christian now, yeah? So, have I spent 5 hours a day with God, or have I spent 24 hours a day with God? Because God isn't an on and off switch in our lives. Neither is the esoteric things on and off switches. Let me give you an example. When the last time I was here and I did a presentation, I went through lots of different clips to study what we were doing. You know what I found I was doing? I found I was dreaming some of those clips. And the reason why I was doing it, because I spent time looking at it and getting it into my head. But I want to do something with us here. How often do we spend in quiet time with the Word? And when I say quiet time, I mean you shut yourself away, you've turned everything off, you've turned your attention 100% to the study of the Word. The reason I'm asking this is because we are in a time period where if we're not careful, we'll end up, we may not be doing martial arts. That's my weakness. But you may be ending up doing things you don't want to do because you're not spending enough time with God. I'll give you an example. I'll just put one thing in your head here. How many times do we spend with media in a week? Media, MEDIA. And the reason why I use the word media and not television or phone is because I'm talking about any form of media. How much time do you spend with it? that time should be spent meditating on God's word. And if the media is like, let's say, ADTV, it's not bad, or 3ABN, that's not bad. But I find a better time is spent when you get your Bible out and you spend that time with God yourself, because the Holy Spirit speaks to you and He'll guide you. All right, time-wise, not too I wanted to think about something else, though. But I think shall I give you a break? Because everyone's had too much dinner. Okay. That is all right. I'll continue. I want to switch now to something complete. Yes. Any questions so far? Before I go. Acceptable? Yeah. You see, the question is not what more did I see, because I didn't know what I need. I didn't know what I want. I knew I didn't want what I had. I knew I didn't want to be waking up knowing that an entity could be talking to me that I don't want to have anything to do with. But I want to get rid of him. How do I get rid of him? Can you help me? I've got this problem. I've got this demon that comes and visits me. Ooh, we don't deal with that. Very sorry. Anyway, have a nice day. Yeah? And the first question? Now, the thing that I could think about, there was someone in the family that practiced witchcraft. We call it juju, yeah? Or obia, as a want of a better term, obia, yeah? In the family. There was someone practicing that. And they were trying to kill the family. Now, you've led me on to a very interesting point, actually. I'll share that story. There was someone in the family who didn't like our family. We don't know why it was, but they decided to poison the family. So they cooked a nice meal and sent it to our house. And the Holy Spirit must have spoken to my auntie, because she said, we're not going to eat this food. We're going to give it to the dog. Sorry? Oh, you want me to say it with a Asian accent? Oh, okay, wifey. My wife is a funny one. She says, children, we eating this thing today, we're going to give this to the dog, right? And so, we took the food and we gave it to the dog, and every single dog died. They wanted to poison us. Now, I knew that from an early age that I was different. I knew that God was calling me, but I didn't know why He was calling me. But there was something always in my family, because my elder brother went into a coma and then woke up, and he said he saw chariots of angels in the sky. Now, I can remember when I first heard this, I laughed at him, yeah? And I laughed at him and told him he was hallucinating. Now, can you imagine later on in the Bible reading about Elijah and the chariots of angels that took him, and then I went, oh, I see. So he wasn't hallucinating. There were chariots of angels, but they were probably there protecting the family home, but we didn't know. There are lots of other issues that happened, but the main issue that I will go into, which you did highlight it to, was the fact that there was a lot of superstition growing up in the West Indies. And one of the things were you shouldn't touch a graveyard of someone who just died. You shouldn't touch the gravestone, you shouldn't go near it, you shouldn't sit on it, it's disrespect, and if you do that, you're going to raise up Doppy, right? Oh, sorry. Means you're going to raise up the dead people. Doppy. I could see you're from Zim. Kenya. East African sisters. That's what we used to say. I'm sure there's the same kind of thing, something very similar where you come from, isn't there? Yeah. So I can remember the day it happened. I was in the graveyard, and I was one of these children who wasn't frightened of nothing. I was able to go out at midnight, because we had an outhouse, sort of out there somewhere. We had a toilet and used to go out at night. I wasn't afraid of nothing. Oh, who's believing in ghosts? Rubbish, nonsense. So that was normal. But until this day I went out, something happened. When I got up one night, and so I realized that there was something other than me around. But I thought, well, what these people were giving me, the picture that we paint for people is bad, because you implant an idea, and then that idea takes fruit. And before you know it, your children will become terrified of something that isn't actually there. My aunties and uncles are very naughty. They used to tell us stories around the campfire. You ever did that? And when you hear the stories around the campfire, everybody's huddling together like this. Everybody walking around like this because they're scared. Yeah? But that's what the enemy wants. He wants us to think of him with red horns and a red tail and looking all kind of funky. But he isn't like that. But the one thing I can remember as I was growing older, as I made this decision around here, here's where my world got turned upside down. Right here. After doing it, that. Right there. Right after this is when my world started turning upside down. I was made homeless in 1992 on the 2nd of February. I lived on the streets of London and in certain doss houses for approximately 3.5 years. At that time, I was going to university at South Bank studying architecture and quantity surveying. Now, don't ask me how it worked. I don't know how I survived it. Well, actually, I do know. There's a God in heaven that does things for people. So what happened around that time, the Lord allowed me, as mad as it was, my first son, his mother, she did some very strange things. I know. And she took a lot of money, and I lost my house. It got repossessed. So in 1992, I walked out with 4 black bags. After buying my first house at 20, and starting my first business at 23. But the reason I believe I had to lose it is because when I was going about getting them, remember, when I was 18, what was I dabbling in? So, who do you think I prayed to ask to get this business? So, the devil, as he is, can use you to make you look good. And when he gets you to a certain place, chop you down. And at the time when I lost my house, all I had in my head was, go and commit suicide. Go and commit suicide. Go and commit suicide. 24/7. Well, I couldn't have done it because I'm here. But you know what? And I went to the point of actually going to the doctor's surgery to purchase, well, it's not purchase really, get a prescription for sleeping pills. Because I sat down and think, right, I can't take this anymore. I can't sleep. I've not slept for 3 weeks. How can I stop this voice in my head? So I decided, sleeping pills. Obviously, I thought of all the other options, jumping off a bridge. Well, what if that doesn't work and you break your back and you're paralyzed for life? Nah, don't want to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. What if you did this and you got brain damage? Nah, I went through all the different ways of killing myself. You need it, slitting your throat, slitting your wrist, jumping in front of a train. Well, that's not nice because the driver will be traumatized. Don't do that. And seriously, I went through all the different ways of how I could commit suicide without injuring someone else. Fine, I said, sleeping pills. So I go and see this doctor, Mr. Pill, I used to call him, because as soon as he walked in, what you want? Here you go. But on this particular day, Mr. Pill said no. I'm thinking, what's wrong with you? I just need sleeping pills, man. Just give me the pills. And the man said no. And I was shocked. And I walked out of there thinking, oh, man, what am I going to do now? And I thought, you know what? Maybe you're not meant to kill yourself. And you laugh at that, Abigail and Micah, because you wouldn't be here. Actually, you would have had a different daddy. But no, on a serious note, when I think about it, because when I think about it, the whole idea behind the devil trying to get us to go all the way with him, and then when he's used you, cut you off. That is how he operates. That is modus operandi. Now, the other thing that I realized in this time of period of my life, that is right after this, I decided, right, I want to get to know God, but I don't know how. But you know what I'll do? I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. So what do you think happened from here? From there, how old was I there? Kind of mid-20-ish, yeah? I got baptized at 31. So it took me 7 years to get from there to where I am. How do you think that happened? Because we kept procrastinating, and God is so merciful. Can you imagine if you were with someone for 7 years, they kept messing up every day, making the same mistakes over and over for 7 years, would you be with them? Sorry? We're not as patient, but we're meant to be. Anyway, so what happened after this was very, very interesting. I can remember now, I'm homeless. I'm living in front gardens. I've got a stone for my pillow. I'm living in those houses, and I'm sleeping in a place where there's a room slightly bigger than this with about 20 beds. And they've got little lockers all down the hallway, and they'll give you a key. You pay your £5 or £8. You go in, you sleep. 8 o'clock, you're out. And you're in by about 9, 10 the latest. So you have to be in there 9, 10 the latest, out by 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's how I lived for a little while. Then one night, I'm laying on the bed. I noticed God woke me up, because I woke up and the guy standing over me with a knife in his hand. And I was thinking to myself, I woke up and I see him there and goes, "Leave me!" like that. And he jumped and he ran. And I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. So I get up, go to my brother's house and say, "Bruv, can I have a shower at your house?" Because I did not want to shower at that place. I tell you what, this place was so dirty, you wiped your feet on the way out. No word of a lie, I'm serious. The toilet, I would not use it to wee in, because it was so dirty, I thought the germs were going to crawl from the toilet into me. It was that bad. Yeah? So I said, you know what, I've got to get out of here. So what I did, I went to my brother's place, I had the shower, and his wife said, "You're welcome to come and stay." So I went to stay there, and I stayed there for about a year. And in that year, the Lord gave me a relative peace and quiet. I think I needed it, a bit of stability. To be honest, I did have a little period of naughty behavior. In that time, a bit stable, so you got a place to live, you know, putting on fresh garments, clean. Then I started sort of going out with girls. Then didn't just have a girlfriend. I was 2-time or 3-time. But as far as I was concerned, I wasn't doing anything wrong because I wasn't married, and they kind of knew I had someone else anyway. That's how you rationalize it, you know, when you're in the world. Yeah, but we're not married, we're not committed, you know, she kind of knows I've got someone on the side, and, you know, it's a bit like that, really, and, you know, anyway, she could be cheating as well. And that's how the guys think, young ladies. That's how the guys think. That's how the guys think, seriously. As far as he's concerned, if he is having more than one girl, you can be having more than one boy. So when they're saying, "You are my only one, I love you, I care for you with all of my heart," and they put on them nice mushy music, oh my dear, When your back is turned, number 2 is there. Because you know, Mr. Nahum, I showed this picture, the tall, gangly boy of mine, Micah, how many girls did he have on his phone? 7, 8? You can't count, right. He's tall, he's handsome, but you know where he's going. But Dad, look, I've got Sunday. I see you on Sundays, this one, and this one's on Tuesdays, and that one's, but this one's for the weekend. That's how they think nowadays. But anyway, back to the story. Now, I am actually living in my brother's house. I'm kind of doing okay. But then something happens and we kind of fall out and I have to move on. And I move into the hostel. And the hostel is a turning point. This is a proper hostel where I've got my own room. I've got my own bed. Can you imagine that? Own bed, your own bed, you know. Wow. Can you imagine? You don't have to move from place to place. You've got your own place. And I'm the happiest person ever. You know why? Because I recognize that for the first time in my life, that a small room for myself is all I need. But guess what happened? The devil isn't leaving me there because now I'm coming to the stage now where I'm thinking about Christ. I'm thinking about God. And I went to pick up my son from seeing his mom because his mom is off, it's all changed. And he's terrified because he says, in the dark, they're coming. So now the same demon that visited me when I was young is now visiting my son. What do you do? It's all right when it's you, but when it's your child, what do you do? So I said, you know what? Got to get your Bible. So I went to W.H. Smith's when they used to sell King James Bibles, and I picked up a small black Bible. And my son and I learned Psalms 23 in 1 hour. And how we learned it? We're there. I know that there's something happening. I say, Lord, I don't know how to pray, but help me. Please help me. Open it up. Boom. That's the one to learn. That's how I did it. And when Jermaine, let me put this picture back up. When Jermaine actually came out to see me on a Monday when I visited him, he said, Dad, they cannot come in the room any longer. It's working. By the 3rd day, the demons were gone. So now, I've got to now think to myself, okay, Don, if the demons leave at the word of God, what are you going to do? I've got to follow God, isn't it? So what happens next is now that I decide I'm going to have to start learning about God. And incidentally, I now have, what do you call it? An assignment, ancient civilizations. How did all the civilizations fail? So I decided to go and study it in depth. And you know what happens? I came up with the conclusion that all the ancient civilizations failed, based on the evidence, is they did not follow the one true God. And I gave in this piece of writing to my lecturers. And I got an A. And I couldn't believe it. So then I said, right, here's where the test comes to me. If you have this experience with your son, you have this experience with your handwriting, you give it to the lecturer, you get an A. What are you going to do now? And now I decided, right, I'm leaving the more martial arts behind, and I'm going to focus on God. And it was very funny how it works, because now I'm in my room, and there's a Rasta guy. Now, the Rasta guy is really funny. He was a saving grace, because he's the one that got me the room in the first place. And he said, there's something about you, I like you, but there's something different about you. You're not like the other guys. I'm actually going to get you a room here. And that's how I got that room. But he used to go in my room and check, because they want to make sure that you didn't take in drugs and stuff like that. And what happened was that he decided to put me into a bigger room, because he knew that my son was coming to stay with me. In that time now, I've got a friend at a university who was a Seventh-day Adventist, I'm sure I mentioned this the last time. He invited me to Wood Green Church for Youth Day because he wants to get the girls. So he got all the guys from college to come to Wood Green Church Youth Day for the girls. Because why? Seventh-day Adventist girls are what's the word? Easy, right. No, I'm being serious. Now that was when I was growing up. Yes. I'm not going to answer that one. I'm not answering that question. I'm not answering the question. But I'm telling you what was in the university where I was going to. Yeah, that's what they said. Big Eye John and my mates, that's what they said. Seventh-day Adventist girls are easy, right? So we go there, and I'm in the place. Elder Cunha is preaching a message. Who knows Elder Cunha? Nice guy, preaching a message. And you know what? That message hit me, and I got up and I floated to the front, and I cried my eyes out. I can't remember the sermon, but I knew that the Spirit of the Lord touched me that day. And from that day, I knew that I had to give my heart to Christ. Now what happens next? You think the devil going to leave me like that? No. So I'm now walking back to my house with my friend. It's 12 o'clock at night. I showed Abigail and Michael where we were that day. We drove past it last week, Sunday, actually. And you know what happened? As you're walking by, the railings start to wave like that. And there's almost like an earthquake on the ground. You can hear some heavy footsteps. And the trees are going crazy. And I knew that it was some sort of entity trying to get us. So I asked the Lord to help me. And we ran from there, from West Kensington all the way to Earls Court in less than 5 minutes. I could not believe that such a thing was possible, but it happened. And it's from that moment I realized I needed to give my heart to the Lord. Another occasion, broad daylight this time, we had another occurrence of a demon in human form, shall we say, coming after myself and my friend. And it's after that I decided to give my heart to the Lord and got baptized and became a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. But it was because of the troubles. It sounds bad, you know. I run to God because of the demonic activity in my life. Some of us run to the devil because we want all the entertainment stuff. And I learned about God in university. Strange thing is, a lot of our young people learn about the demonic stuff in university and they embrace it. That's the problem I'm having with my youngster at the moment. But I think at this moment in time, I can see the people are tired and it's a long day. So I will hold it right here and maybe continue another time.